Okay, so getting off to a later start than I had intended. Much later start, because technically it's now Tuesday. It's well, almost 5 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday for me, anyway. Mm. And I meant to do this on Monday, but I wound up sleeping most of the day. I was really tired. Once I got off work, I just got home and just almost immediately fell asleep. I woke up and went to get myself some lunch, and then decided I was going to take a little bit of a nap before I did this, and wound up just sleeping the whole time practically. So, but we'll go ahead and open them up now. This is GI Joe Classified Series Franklin Airborne Talltree. So I didn't wind up picking up Big Boa because I said I might wind up picking up Big Boa today, and if I did, I was going to go ahead and do him today and do Airborne on Tuesday. So I guess technically I'm still doing them on Tuesday, even though I didn't do Big Boa on Monday because I don't have them yet. I've got a lot more McFarlane DC Multiverse on the way because I just got John Stewart from Amazon today. So technically, since I don't have Aquaman, I don't have every figure in that set, but I do have enough to put together the Plastic Man Build-A-Figure. I'll explain that as I do the episodes. So I'm probably going to do Superman tomorrow. I've still got those vintage Batman the Animated Series items to open up, so that's going to be coming up soon. So, and I've got a couple of more McFarlane Batman figures that are recent arrivals. So lots of Batman coming up. But this is the last G.I. Joe that, well, not technically. I still have Wolf Spider around here somewhere. I need to open him up. But he's the last of the newest batch that I got. And I'm looking forward to opening him up. Airborne was always one of my favorite characters. Here's a pic of him on the back on Easter Island. Got the Dragonfly in the background, which was a crowdfunded thing. I wasn't able to afford to buy it. You got Easter Island statues firing I-beams at the Dragonfly. So let's go ahead and open them up. Got detail of the patch on his arm and the helmet. This figure 115. It's hard to believe they've made so many of them at this point, but and they just now are finally getting around to Airborne. Oh yeah, there's the portrait of him on the front. Get a good look at that. There's the piece of artwork on the side. He's got that blue vest that is a trademark of the character. On the figure, it's a little more muted, a little more grayish, a slightly darker color. On the original figure, back in the 80s, you might recall it was more of like a sky blue kind of color. Airborne in the sky. Makes sense. So let's go ahead and get these accessories out here. And we've got Beachhead submachine gun. Not the rifle that Airborne usually comes with, the kind of M16 type rifle with the bayonet. That's more what I'm used to. But this is obviously, like, you know, they made this for Beachhead, but probably just put it with this figure because he was coming out first. And then we got this backpack, which is very deeply embedded in this package. It's kind of a dark brown. This is the same backpack that came with Duke, which is not 100% accurate to the one that came with the original Airborne figure, but since, you know, the original Airborne had the same backpack as Duke, that makes sense. Then we got this pistol. All this stuff is very deeply embedded within the packaging. You can see the barrel kind of got bent on that. And obviously that's a barrel that's intended for the for a silencer to fit onto, but I don't see a silencer around here anywhere. I think that it might actually be like bent. I think I see some stretch marks on there. Stress marks is what I should have said. So I'm betting what you're supposed to do is this might have been the same with Firefly. I don't really remember, but the silencer is a much tighter fit than the one that came with Firefly. So you're supposed to be able to swap these back and forth. The silencer is on the submachine gun. That's why I didn't. That's why I'm like, where's the silencer? Oh, because it's already on another weapon. You already forgot about it. So put that. Oh, dang! I bent the barrel trying to get that on there. It's like I said, much tighter than what Fireflies was, where it just like was falling off all the time. And of course, the ammo clip there is removable. And then we have a couple of different goggles. This one has some fabric over it. This is obviously the one that's supposed to go on the top of his head. And this pair of goggles is supposed to go around his eyeballs. And that is got a metallic blue painting on the lens, paint application. And then we have, this is a cool little accessory, some little night vision goggles. These will clip onto his helmet. And then the helmet itself, this is more of a modern style half shell type helmet than what the original one came with. But this is kind of typical of the types of helmets they've been putting on the G.I. Joe figures lately. You know, Duke, like I said, he had an 80s style helmet because it was a retro figure, but I kind of feel like this helmet is supposed to be like the modern equivalent of that 80s G.I. Joe type helmet. It works for me. I mean, like for me, I kind of feel like that does feel reminiscent of that original type of G.I. Joe helmet. Now, the original Airborne figure, while the helmet was in that shape, it had like a fabric covering over it, and this one obviously does not. But, you know, since the goggles have a fabric covering over them, that kind of still gives it that same sort of flavor to it, I think. So there's what it looks like with the goggles on the helmet. And then these night vision type things, those can clip on there. There's a little hole in the front of the helmet and a little plug on those. If I can get it in there right. So that's what it looks like with those in. Pretty cool. Now, it would be really nice if these actually had a hinge on them and they could flip up and down, but, you know, whatever. You can kind of position the helmet in such a way where, like, they're not over his eyes if you want to display it that way. But it's a nice little accessory to have. I think I'm mainly just going to keep them like this, so it's more like the original figure. And then he's got the, like I said, these kind of fit over his eyes. So technically, this should be the same pair of goggles. So if you want to have him like wearing, you can. The helmet is a little loose, so you can fit the helmet over the goggles, even with the head on. You can fit the goggles over the head, even with the. I'm getting dyslexic in what I'm saying. You can fit the helmet onto the head even while he's wearing the goggles. There, that's how you're supposed to do it. And it's a little more snug that way, but it's still like I think it's just snug enough without the goggles. It's not like Dusty's where it's going to be like falling off of his head, but at the same time, it is a little more loose that way. So yeah, just be forewarned. And then there's a hole in the back of his vest, and the backpack goes all the way through the vest into the hole in the back of the figure. Now, I do feel like it would be nice if this kind of conformed to the shape of his back a little bit more. You can see there's a little bit of space there. Yeah, a little bit of space there. So, not perfect, but it works okay. So, let's go ahead and have a look at some of these other accessories. So, we'll go ahead and put the pistol in his hand. So that's what that looks like. Pretty cool. Fits in there nicely. It wasn't too hard to get it in there, and it seems like it's staying in there pretty well once it is. So put that in the holster. Nice snug fit in the holster. I'm happy with that. Let's where's the knife sheath? Oh yeah, it's on his chest. Duh. So since he'd have to pull it out with his left hand, let's go ahead and put it in his left hand. That seems to make sense. There's what he looks like holding the knife. Pretty good. Nice tight grip. I don't know how it's going to fit in the other hand. Let's try it in the other hand, just for the sake of being thorough. So there we go. And then we can put that in the sheath on his chest. Now, I do believe that this vest is a reuse of the one that came with the Steel Brigade figures, which I still haven't gotten yet. But even with me looking at it and being like, oh yeah, that's reused from Steel Brigade, obviously it was designed to be used on Airborne, because that's exactly what the 1980s figure looked like. It's the same type of collar. The knife sheath is in the same place across the chest. Got the grenade in the same place. It's clearly intended to be Airborne. So take the helmet off, and we'll go ahead and go over his articulation. So Airborne can look up about this far. He can look down about that far. He can tilt his head from side to side quizzically. Move his head really any way, which way you want to. It's on one of those good Hasbro ball joints, and it does have the additional neck articulation at the base of the neck. It looks to me like this is a reuse of the Stalker torso, but it's not the same arms as Stalker, since he's got this padding on there. That's unique to Airborne. That's from the original figure. He had pads on his elbows like that, and also pads on his knees. He's got an ab crunch, since, it's that same Stalker torso, but, it is a little bit hindered by this vest, but that's okay. This belt, I don't know if it's supposed to be this high up on the figure. You can see it's over, like over the pelvis piece, and I kind of feel like it should be more sort of like covering the pelvis piece somewhat. The little rubber trunk section. Let's see if maybe we can. Nope, it's part of the vest, so I guess it is supposed to. I guess it is supposed to fit up there because it is part of that vest. There, you can see the straps actually continue from the vest onto the belt and then onto the leg straps. So, and you can see that those are all one solid piece there. So I guess that's intended to be that way. So yeah, he does have the drop down hip articulation, which is kind of difficult to see because the straps kind of get in the way, but trust me, it's there. He can kick up about that far. It seems like he would be able to kick up a bit further, but those leg straps kind of bunch up there, but that's to be expected. He can do the splits, no problem. Got double jointed knees that on my sample are a little stiff, but we got it to work. Got it to work just fine. Bend it back down. And he does have a thigh cut, so the thigh rotates all the way around. Got a boot cut, so the boot rotates all the way around. And then the ankles point down about that far, point up about that far, and he's got it on a rocker ankle, so it moves all the way around that way. Now, since we've been over all that, let's go ahead and get him really geared up. We'll put the backpack back on, put the helmet back on. So he first appeared in the same issue, I believe, as in the comic book, as Doc and Gung Ho and Wild Bill and Destro. Although Destro didn't make I don't think his full appearance in that issue, not until a little bit later on, I think the next issue. But Destro was kind of skulking around in the shadows. And a Snow Job, and the Polar Battle Bear. And was the Dragonfly in that issue, or was, I think Wild Bill was flying the C-10. But yeah, so that introduced a whole bunch of new characters into the G.I. Joe mythos. And Airborne was the first Native American, I believe he's Navajo, to be a member of the G.I. Joe team. Before Spirit, who would have been the second. But there's a line in there where somebody asks, Talltree, is that an Indian name? And he says, no, it's Native American. But yeah, I always thought I always thought Airborne was pretty cool because, I always thought, like, grew up watching Westerns. I thought Indians were really cool. And, here he is, one that's a Native American character that doesn't quite fit into that sort of like Indian stereotype. You know, like Spirit is kind of, and I like Spirit. Don't get me wrong, I like the character, but he is kind of more like what you expect a Native American character to be in an action figure line, especially from the '80s, where he's got like a lot of like shall we say flavoring to him that is kind of like the stereotypical Native American. He's got the braids and the headband and the buckskin boots and like I said, Spirit's cool and everything. But I really liked that with Airborne, you had a Native American character that wasn't necessarily like the stereotypical kind of Indian, and I thought that was pretty cool. So it made the character kind of stand out a little bit as far as Native American characters in popular culture go. He did team up with Spirit in a storyline that I really enjoyed, where Hawk was having them track Snake Eyes to figure out where he was going and what he was up to in one storyline, and Spirit and Airborne and Snake Eyes wind up basically having a shootout with Destro and Firefly and a Crimson Guardsman, Fred #1, and that didn't go so well for the Cobras. Oh, and the Soft Master was involved in that. I think that was like the first storyline where like the Soft Master. It wasn't his introduction. He was in the Snake Eyes origin story, obviously, but it was like where he first really started to get involved with the overall storyline, I think. So this is a great figure. They did a great job with him. Lots of good details to him. He does have like a little black and blue American flag patch underneath the knife sheath. That's pretty cool. I like the coloring on it. It's very reminiscent of the original Airborne figure, although a little more muted, a little more sort of real world, I think, but it makes it work. I love the head sculpt. The head sculpt's great. There's a lot of character to the face. Got a great intense facial expression. Very cool. I do like the head sculpt on this one a little bit better than the 25th anniversary version, which I liked that head sculpt quite a bit. But this one, I think, just has a little more intensity to it, and I like that. And the hair is nice. They did a good job with the detailing of the hair. So Airborne is definitely one that I recommend picking up whenever you get the chance. Any GI Joe collection should have Airborne in it. He's just such a cool character. So, and he always makes for a great figure. So, but that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe. All the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Airborne, the figure, and the character in general. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.